Let's go back in time to Shanclen's beginning trainings of what I do. Yes. Welcome back to another episode of Shanclen Shadow Productions. Now, before we get started, as always, if you're enjoying the content here at Shanclen Shadow Productions, be sure to give a like, share, and subscribe. Oh, long time ago, years ago, I'm gonna be taking you guys on a journey back to my trainings to do what I do and what I deal with. Now, I get a lot of people that ask me, they're like, Shanclen, how come you're not scared of this stuff? How come, I do reaction videos, I watch scary movies, I don't really get scared. Even in our paranormal investigations that we do, and even before that too, whenever we would encounter something very scary or creepy, I never freak out, really. Kind of like those people you see like, oh my god, or scream or do anything else other than that. The only time I do is when I'm on a carnival ride. So Shanclen Shadow Lodge is gonna be a new video coming out about me going to a carnival with my siblings. Oh, so go subscribe. But anyways, inside of the trainings that we do, it gets very scary, especially during the segment of learning to overcome fear training. It's, in a sense, training to get you used to seeing things that normal people don't really get to see. And when it gets to a lot of, especially when it comes down to exorcisms or, dealing with Yanagloshis or anything on the dark side, or being around dark spirits and energies like that, overcoming fear is one of your biggest allies. Because if you're scared, if you're fearful of so many different things, you've already pretty much lost the battle. Now, when I was first introduced into this way of life, and in my trainings to be an assistant to a medicine man, it started out with, I was very young, and it started out with watching horror movies. And if you guys have seen my earlier videos of when I talk about me living in a haunted house, or anything in my childhood, I always mentioned I was a scaredy cat. I was always scared of everything because my mind would be so imaginative that I would create some of the most horrendous things ever. And I would always think of the worst situations ever. So now when it comes to this stuff, like my very first time like I started the training was just watching horror movies. I never watched horror movies as a kid because, as you can imagine, I was scared all the time of everything, so I couldn't handle a scary movie. So one of my very first scary movies that I watched full through and with the trainings that I was going into was Paranormal Activity. Now, I remember there was a bunch of hype that came with Paranormal Activity, but it also started going into like other paranormal horror movies. And then it started going into lost footage horror movies. Then it started going into the genre of horror movies, like monster horror movies. And then from there, that's when it went into beast horror movies. And then from there, it went into criminal horror movies and documentaries and stuff. And just really trying to get numb to all that stuff, the very beginnings of it. And this is pretty much what I could do at a very young age, was just that aspect right there. Now, when I got older, though, this right here is the scariest part. When it starts out, there's a certain training ground that we have that we use in a sense to be able to perform a task, but also it's almost like, I guess you would have to say, is a horror maze that you have to go through. And pretty much the mission is get through the maze, collect a feather, come back out. So, how do I say this? The warriors in these trainings hire scary spirits. They hire spirits to be able to scare the bejesus out of you. Different categories of spirits specialize in different scarings, and they're all hidden within this maze. And inside of this maze, you have to go through the trainings and pretty much just endure whatever happens through there. And when you go through this place, I remember when I went through this place here, there was no moon, it was dark out, and there was an entrance to a cave. They told us no weapons, no armor, no protections. Inside, face your worst fears. Inside of this labyrinth, inside of this maze here, your only objective is to get through the maze. But inside the center of this maze is a feather. To show that you went through the whole maze and you came out back through it, you have to bring out that feather with you. Now, thinking about this is you have no flashlight, you have no phones, you have no knife, a general instinct to protect yourself. All you got is these fists. But even then, they said that you're not supposed to do harm against things that you see inside of there. And it's gnarly as fuck, I remember that. Like, you go in kind of one at a time, and when you go into this place, it's interesting to kind of see how everything shifts when you make that first step into the dark. It almost seems like a door closes behind you and you go into a different world. And you go in there and you kind of just navigate your way. And a lot of times it's pitch black. So you kind of have to use your senses of hearing, smelling, and sound and touch to be able to navigate your way through the labyrinth of fear. And now the stories I'm going to be telling you guys are of some of my brothers and sisters that have gone through this as well. And I mentioned this in one of my videos, how Hatatlis and warrior spirits such as that know of a way to be able to blur the physical and spiritual worlds in such a way. And inside of these trainings, they know what they're doing. Those spirits inside of these places know what they're doing. So let me go ahead and paint a picture for you of how this looks. In front of you stands a cave opening with two burning torches on the sides. And you try peering in, you try looking in to see what is actually in there. But it's pitch black. You have your group of other brothers and warriors, brothers and sisters behind you, everybody anxious and nervous. And so you start making your way in, you take the first couple steps into the darkness. But when you fully get engulfed in the darkness, you turn behind you toward the entrance of the cave, and there's nothing there. You turn and you look, and it almost seems as if a door or a dark cloth has covered the entrance of the cave. There's no sound, no conversations had behind you. And as you start, you see and feel with your spiritual eye, the only way forward is you gotta go through right. You turn right, keep walking down. You start thinking in your mind, you start thinking, you know, like, what's gonna pop out? Is something gonna get me? Something gonna hurt me? Something, you know, all these certain things. All of these thoughts of doubt and fear cloud your mind. And thoughts of unimaginable things could be lurking inside. And then you remember one of the instructors tell you, these things can grab you. And these things can hurt you. But your job is to not touch or harm them at all. So, as you're walking, you start going down a corridor and the atmosphere changes and you start feeling, instead of walking on dirt of the cave, you start walking on wood planks. And as you notice this change, you touch the wall and it's of kind of like a plaster, kind of drywall finish to it. And you look down the hall and you see a little light right there. But as you notice, there's no other way to turn right or left. You start walking down that corridor and you see a woman crying in the corner. You're about 20 feet away from this person and you start to get the scent of blood. You walk closer because that is the only way you can get through it. And as you get closer to this woman crying on the ground, you notice she has blood on her shoulders. And as you get real close, there's a turn that goes left right next to her. But because of the trainings, you can't ignore it. You have to look. You look down at this woman with blood on her shoulders. And she turns up and looks at you. And you see her throat has been slit. And she's holding a piece of glass in her hand. And blood is pouring out of her mouth and eyes. And she looks at you. And she tries speaking, and you can barely hear what she says because blood squirts out of her throat and wind blows out of her air pipe. And she grabs onto you, and you kind of just try to run away. As you kind of break free of her, you turn and you look down the hallway of where you're going, and she's standing right there. Instead, she has no eyes this time. Instead, she has blood and flesh coming out of her mouth, and she tries grabbing onto you, but blood squirts out of her throat onto your face, and you freak the fuck out. Like I said, you can't. The whole purpose of what this is to get you through the horror of what's in front of you, to get you through the scares of maybe some things that you'll see in your life. Some things that no matter how gruesome the situation is, you have to get through it. That's your job. That's your duty. Because who knows if this person that was right here, somebody else down the hallway that's calling for help. And that's exactly what that happened next. As you freak out and you scream, you close your eyes. And then you open them, and she's gone. You kind of feel your face, but the blood is still there. Turn around, and you look. And that light of the corner that you just took is gone. There's nothing left. And you just kind of see that, and you see that image stuck in your head like that. And you're just like, what the fuck? You know? You're going through this, and then you're just like trying to contemplate what's going on, but you remember you have a mission. You have to keep going. You have to keep going. And so with different people, how they took it, that's when, you see something like that. It's the first time you ever seen something so gory that you start praying, you start singing your songs, you start grounding yourself, you start taking a deep breath and keep going. You start making your way down the corridor and you hear a baby cry. And as this baby cries and echoes down the hall, your mind already starts racing. What I just saw right here, what's awaiting me down the next turn. So you start making your way and you kind of hear the cries of that child. And as the cries of the child get louder and louder, another light appears at the end of the hall. And when I say that it's missing limbs, there's a lot of blood. And you're not sure how this child is alive. And as you go and you walk up to this child, you're kind of just looking at it and you start saying a prayer for it. And out of nowhere, that baby has a demon voice.
Why the fuck are you praying for me? Go to hell, you son of a bitch. You deserve to die in this labyrinth.
And you're just there looking at this child and you're like trying to contemplate what's going on. And the child continues to say stuff, starts to laugh at you, and you just have to keep walking. And going through your mind, you try to contemplate human things, but it doesn't work. It doesn't make sense of how a baby could, one, be alive, how a baby could then, who is so helpless and innocent, be taken and used in a form of darkness and evil such as that. And you're like, what the fuck? You don't understand it. A lot of times when you're dealing with darkness and evil, things will not make sense like that. So then you continue down your path, and on this path, you continue walking down the corridor. Your eyes kind of adjust a little bit to where you can kind of see a little bit of, edges and corners. You're trying to find your way. But if you have any sense of this maze or labyrinth, you hear something or you sense something, you're on the right path. So the next stop on this maze and labyrinth was one of a Che. A Che man is a old man in our stories. And this Che man, sitting in a chair, kind of looks at you. You start walking up to this Che man, and he starts yelling at you in Navajo. And pretty much what he was saying in Navajo was he's cursing you. He is demeaning you, saying all these mean things. He'll hit you, he'll slap you, he'll scratch you. But then, as he's crying out and his tone starts to change to pity, he starts to rip his face apart, his own face, in front of your face. He starts pulling out teeth, he starts pulling out jaws, he starts breaking fingers off, he starts doing all these crazy things in front of you. And you're just like, what the fuck is this? And you just have no choice, but he kind of just breaks himself down to where he kind of just lays there and bleeds out. But you're just like, how can somebody do this to themselves? How can somebody, go through such a thing? And you just keep walking. You have to keep walking. You pray for this person, you pray for their spirit. And all the whole time you're thinking of protection songs, mountain songs, things to make you happy, things to, distract from the horrors that you're seeing in front of you. Till sure enough, you see a room that has moonlight shining through, and there's a feather sitting in the middle of a room.
Mission complete.
And you go and you grab the feather, and you're kind of just looking around, waiting to see if anything else will happen. And then you're like, okay, let me go ahead and start making my way back. But the entrance that you just came from is gone. And there's another entrance on the other side of the maze. You have to kind of go through a different direction that you came into to get out of the cave, to get out of the maze. And along this journey, you see more gruesome things along the way. And it gets very, very gruesome, very gory, very, very scarring to kind of see these things of situations of people's bodies, situations of people's doing things to themselves, but also things done onto them from others. You see, I don't even want to kind of get into it, but you see people, like killing each other, strangling each other, but you can't interact. You have to remember this is a mission. This is all supposed to be played out in front of you. And you kind of get through the corridors, you get through the maze, and you get through it, and you find your way out of the cave. And you're kind of standing there in shock. You kind of look at your brothers and your sisters as you stand there. Everyone looks at you. They're just like, they get even more scared because your expression is just blank, and then they see blood on you. They see, all this stuff on you. And then the mentors look at you and they say, did you have fun? And you're kind of just like, they kind of hit you on the shoulder and they try to snap you out of it, bring you back. Hey, this is all pretty much like a dream, they said. They put you in like a dream state. They put you into a situation like this to where you can go through it, but they can still kind of affect you in certain ways. And they say, congratulations for being the first to go through the Gore Gauntlet. Now, your mission now is go back again and face the next fear ahead of you. And that's something that's like totally mind fucking with you, is you have to go through it multiple times. And I'll probably make videos more so on the gauntlet of different fears that you go through. And yeah, if you guys are interested in that video, let me know. I'll go ahead and make the other fears. But the other fears are fear of loss, fear of monsters, fear of death, and fear of unknown. There's a couple other ones, but I'm not allowed to share those ones on there. But yeah, there's a couple more gauntlet stories of going through and pretty much facing your fears of evil and darkness, because pretty much after everything was done and they kind of spoke with us, and they told us that the things that you see and hear in this gauntlet and what those spirits show you are events that have happened in life, may that be physically or spiritually. And those will be weaponized against you. those will be weaponized to break you. Those will be weaponized to find weaknesses inside of you. Those will be weaponized against you to take your life. And when you go through these certain things, overcoming your fear is what's gonna get you home. Overcoming your fear is what's gonna overcome these evil beings. And they said certain type of fears everybody's unique to. People have different fears of different things. And so these spirits in here are going to scan you and recognize fears that you have within inside of yourself within these categories and make it unique for you to be able to overcome your fears, not 100% put fear away. Fear is an emotion that will honestly never go away, but it's up to you on how you overcome it. It's up to you and how much you let fear overtake you, your mind, and your body. So, yeah, it was gnarly, you know, like to be able to see and go through and witness stuff like that, and you're just like, what the fuck, you know? But, yeah, it's, you know, like you hear of the Gauntlet and your other brothers and sisters that go through it. They have different stories and experiences. And learning how to process and go through those things, you know, because when you go in against evil and darkness like this, you're gonna see fucked up shit. And this is also a teaching and a lesson to be able to cope with seeing certain things, how you cope with it kind of healthily. You know, you go to ceremonies, you go to sweat, but also, you know, like meditate and pray about it. And you go through certain things like this and how you overcome it. You know, you have to still overcome it, but don't let it destroy you at the same time. And to be able to still be combatively ready and still be a good soldier to be able to help out, you know, people in need. You know, that's pretty much the whole reason behind it, is to be able to make you a stronger warrior. So like when you go through and you see creepy things and, you know, for people out there is like, oh, you watch a creepy movie, you know, like, yeah, I've seen pretty much almost a lot of scary movies, and you know, but it's like, it's different when you have that person spraying blood at you trying to talk, and you know, but you see that and you smell it and you feel it, and it's different. It's different when you kind of go through that. So that kind of training is wild, but it's always a teaching. There's always a lesson behind it to be able to make you a stronger warrior. So all you out there that say that you want to be shadow warriors, like, actually join me, hope you're ready for the gauntlet. Oh. Anyways, yeah, so let me know if you guys want to hear the other Fear Gauntlet stories like that, and just try to see what those warriors go through like that. It's always pretty amazing to be able to see and, you know, appreciate them more, to kind of go through certain things like this and overcome hardships like that on a whole new scale and freakier level such as that. But if you guys enjoy these stories, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And channel updates, I do have totally opposite spectrum of this video. I have I went to the carnival with my siblings a couple days ago, and yes, that's going to be coming up on the second channel, Shanclen Shadow Lodge. So be sure to like, share, and subscribing over there too as well. Kind of do like lighthearted, not too scary interactions over there as well. So yes, other updates, go follow me on Instagram, Clan Warrior SSP, daily shenanigans, also Clan Shadow Lodge SSP as my second Instagram page, Shanclen SP for TikTok. Shanclen SP for TikTok. Golly, there's so much stuff. I really do need to write all this down. But yeah, go follow me everywhere. I have a link tree that has everything linked up on there. So, hope I didn't scare you too much. And I hope you all have a good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. Oh, good night. There was a part where feces was thrown at somebody. I don't want to add that in there, but feces. It's fucking gross. Hats off to those spirits. I'm kind of excited for the next one. The fear of loss. See, why can't they make haunted houses that scary? Let's go and get this video edited up. Oh, and you're educated and auto-doing it, and welcome back to another episode of the Shanclen.